like this were to happen. So I don't think the lights aren't going to go out in MPPA's perspective and mine, but just wanted you to be aware that there are people that keep track of this and there are measures in place in case something were to happen.
So if the question is, so if they don't call us to go online,
Okay?
but they call us to decrease by a percentage.
They would call us to go online first.
Okay.
Yeah, they would use all generation first because we're receiving capacity credit for it and it's registered. We're getting money to run that to have that generation even listed. They would go that route.
So it's important to get the other one up and running. Barney?
He's working at it today. I stopped by and visit the site, so.
So how would you decrease it? Would simply I be sleeping and notice that my fan just shut off?
We couldn't do
Would
it.
you sneak it in at night or?
No,
You know,
we
who
couldn't
else?
physically change people's power, but we could call a large industrial customer and say, hey,
Myers, don't run your air conditioning.
can you shut off your air? That's going to decrease the load that the MPPA can see at our substation. They are able to communicate and see what the load on our transformers are, or is. They can see that load decrease.
Turn your lights off.
I mean, if
every
we shut the
other
lights off here, there'd be a fraction of a decrease, probably not noticeable.
Okay, I didn't-
Citizens
I didn't
wouldn't feel a
realize that.
brownout or anything?
This would be to prevent a brownout.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what Lowell and all other people in the MISO region that could potentially be affected would do to prevent a brownout.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know if you arbitrarily.
I don't want to scare
just-
you. This is just
Well,
something
you
that we
know.
talked about at length
Okay.
at
It's
the
a
meeting.
safety
Okay.
measure.
Right.
Well, I've been overseas where that, I'm standing there and all of a sudden, there was no power. And I'm looking, what's going on? Well, it'll be just a few hours. This happens. I'm looking, what?
The mike's gotta get
What?
rested.
Those
So,
raccoons are over
I
there.
didn't know,
Yeah.
were they arbitrarily, it just happened. It wasn't during broad daylight, but I didn't know if that's what you would do. America has never seen anything like
I
this.
do believe
Rolling
like
blackouts.
larger utilities actually
Yeah.
have different technologies and contracts with customers put in place where they might receive a reduced rate or a payment if the utility utilizes the technology, which will actually shed load. But we don't have any of that. We could turn off a circuit if we wanted to, which would take off or shut off everybody on a circuit. We could do that, but as far as controlling somebody's air conditioning or your fan at home, we
Right.
can't do that.
Let the raccoons out.
Yeah.
Right.
What is it?
What do you have, Greg, a
I can add to
comment?
that, Steve. Low line power is such a small piece of the overall MISO region. I think, if I remember right, if we got called on to decrease load, it's like 100 kilowatts. It's really hardly anything at all. And so instead of having contracts with some utilities that have what they call an interruptible rate, where a major manufacturing utility or major manufacturing facility would actually pay all year long, pay a lower rate, knowing that there could be a time when that power gets interrupted to their facility. We haven't done that because of the amount that we need to curtail in that kind of situation. Like I said, just 100 kilowatts an hour or something like that. So we have just verbal agreements with Myers and King Milling and not Perform, but
Atwood?
Rulo?
the other one, Chuck.
Metric.
Wow.
That they would turn lights off or not use the air conditioning or something like that.
Okay. And that would make a significant difference. So shutting off my fan in the middle of the night wouldn't be a big dent, like you said. It's
Be
like,
very, very, very
There
small.
isn't anything any residential customer can do to make a significant difference.
I'll let my husband know that when I leave the lights on all night.
Well, your bill will still be a little bit higher because of that.
Go ahead, let him leave them on.
If you want to, pay us more money if you can.
Well, thank you.
But the idea is if everybody has to do their part, granted low line powers is still a small part, but if everybody had, when you add up all 17 or 18 members now of the MPPA and they do their part and DTE and consumers does their part, in effect, to alleviate a potential situation.
So how big is 17% chance relative to the past
I think
years?
it's pretty big. And it seems 1 in 6.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a high chance, but I mean, compared to, like, every year when they come out, is it typically 20%, or is it usually?
I didn't ask that question. They did say it was higher than past years, but since I've been at Light and Power, we've never had this happen. I mean, have you ever experienced in your career, Greg? So that's why they were surprised. They didn't realize, but this could be for a completely different part of MISO. Might not be the Michigan portion. They just said in the MISO region, there's a 17% chance there could be something like this occur.
Okay.
But the state of Michigan is fine. I mean, unless it's 110 degrees for a week straight or something, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty, last, the July 13th, which is today, MPPA meeting was canceled due to a small agenda and many commissioners being out of town, I imagine on vacation. Moving on to system generation upgrade progress.
They're probably pre-Olympics,
What?
pre-Olympics, they're probably on their way.
Right.
Like some people.
I haven't left yet. Biodigester was obviously discussed as a separate item at length, and I know I will be keeping you very up to date, the council, the board, as well as all the residents here, as what transpires and the updates we receive from Greg Northrup. And I think he's very aware of Lowell Light and Power and the council's position in the community that there needs to be a resolution. So Siemens, work progresses. As Jim mentioned, Jim actually took a tour of the Lowell Energy Center today. We were over there probably 15-20 minutes. And Barney is currently working on the control panel that arrived last week. And the plan is still to have the combustion turbine up and running this summer. Barney, if you have anything to add, or?
Well, work's still progressing. Got the panel in place. I'm just filling the wires and see if I can hook them up.
Throw them in and hope for the best.
Love the confidence.
Do the wet finger testing around.
Yeah.
We've given Barney a goal of August 31st, so we got some time. But the 5-year plan, as most of you are aware, Lowell Light and Power had GRP perform a 5-year or engineer a 5-year plan for our system. These two maps kind of represent the plan. In this coming fiscal year 2017, we have 4 projects part of that plan. The first of which we plan and hope to start this fall. We contacted GRP, and to do that, we had to get the initial engineering work approved. It was not over the $10,000 threshold. Ryan met with Michael McGeehan, the president of GRP, and discussed the project and went over the plan, and that was approved. And I actually received the first invoice today for the work for that engineering work. And I don't know if you have anything to comment on that, Ryan. Ryan did meet with Michael and is kind of taken off with the 5-year plan, but.
I don't have anything to comment really. There isn't really anything huge happening with it other than they did a walkthrough, they GPS mapped the whole thing to prepare for their blueprint drawing, and they're ready to come out and stake it as soon as we move forward with it.
So are you keeping us in suspense, or, I mean, what is the,
We're gonna go, like I said, I think
I know.
this will be talked
So-
about in September in further detail.
Come on, Barry.
is it updating the 1247 or update, polls, or is just a surprise?
Oh, this first project is gonna make it so that we have another circuit up near the industrial area on Foreman Street. Right now, there isn't really a good option if something was to happen with Circuit 201 that feeds Lighthouse and Metric and all those big buildings up there. We don't have another option or a backup if something happens with that circuit. So this
Okay.
project will bring 208 from the backside of our warehouse or Chatham facility up along the existing route where there's a line right now of which the wire is too small
Okay.
to operate the load. So this would upgrade that whole line. It would be a larger wire. It would be another circuit switching option for transferring load to a different circuit, just to make our system more reliable.
Thank you, Ryan. But we will go into more detail in terms of the work, the scope, how long we expect it to take, the dollars the project will cost. And we do plan to do that work ourselves. So Ryan's confident that existing, GRP had initially quoted us contracting this work out. But with Ryan and coming on board before this plan was fully developed, when Ryan wasn't on board when they were at the tail end of this plan, but after Ryan looked at it, we're going to be able to save a lot of money by doing work ourselves.
And my question for that was, I don't want to take anything away, but, a 5-year plan, and we've always talked about, emergency situations and everything, and again, I'm bringing up the idea of having a portable generator. I know you got it further in there, but I didn't know.
We're gonna wait.
I didn't know if that's in the 5-year plan, or again, if we had to have a black start, if our generators to start them and.
Yeah, that will be discussed
Okay.
in detail in a later section.
Okay.
Other system projects, more work was done on the SCADA project. The SCADA system is located right in here, along with our fiber, and our communication room will actually be moved up here, I believe, on July 25th. And right now, our communication room is downstairs. When you walk in the front door of the office, the customer service rep lets you in, you make a left, there's a small little room on your right. It's hot, there's expensive servers there now. For the physical safety and for the long-term, health of the servers, we made a decision to move the servers up here. It's cooler, that room was hot, and the fiber and SCADA systems were already up here as well. So that'll be happening later this month, but the SCADA system should be completed in the next 45 days, which will allow us to see what's going on in the substation, different voltages, different readings. The South Monroe parking lot is finished. Underground project by the office building has continued to progress. Ryan, I'll let you comment on that, but I believe we plan to wrap up that project within the next month.
Yeah, we got a significant amount of the work done. The transformer that feeds this building, and it will feed a lot of other buildings along the Main Street area, has been relocated onto a more permanent foundation on some concrete. We were able to remove a fairly significant amount of the large 4-inch conduit that is along the south side of the walls. If you guys go out and take a look at it later, maybe when you leave or some other time when you drive by, you'll notice a fair amount of those conduits are all removed. We routed everything underground so that the feed to this building is underground. Tidied everything up out there fairly well. We have all of our new wire installed. We're just organizing some outages with all of the customers that are fed from the overhead line that we're planning to remove. And once we have those organized and it's a convenient time for those customers to be out of power for a small time frame, then we're going to convert them over to this transformer and be able to remove that overhead. It's moving along very well.
Obviously, that will remove the pole near your building. So, yeah, it'll clean things up and aesthetically, I think, improve the look of Riverside. What? Go for it.
One other thing, we did take a look at the condition of the bricks that you mentioned along the backside of the building while we were removing conduits, and we did get up on the roof and look over the edge just because we were kind of looking at removing the smokestacks and breathers up there too. But the condition of the face of the few of the bricks, they are popping off a little bit, but they're not crumbling really bad. I think if we put a little paint on the ones that the faces have popped off of, we'll probably be in fairly good shape. I don't think it's a complete rebuild, or it's not in that bad a shape really. I think Mark and I both looked at it and we feel some paint up there would really help things out.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, we had a meeting with King Milling. We, as in Ryan, Mark, and myself, King Milling contacted us because a truck on their facility grazed a pole, and the pole's integrity is fine. No outages happened, but they just wanted to meet with us about the potential of taking all of their overhead and putting it underground. It was a very preliminary meeting, and we have been in contact with the city because next year, South Broadway, that entire road will be torn up, and there's the potential to lay conduit underneath, when the road's torn up, get with the city as they go through the railroad application process and put conduit in the permit that will go underneath the railroad. There's also the potential for King Milling to primary meter the rest of their service. Right now, one of their accounts, their largest source of power, is primary metered, meaning they own all the equipment behind the meter. They get a lower rate because they're responsible for the transformer, all the equipment behind the meter. They do have, I believe, 3 existing services, a couple of the scales and another service back there that is not primary metered. But there would be the potential for them to do this project themselves and receive a lower rate because they would only have 1 bill instead of 4 separate bills for what's going on back there. And it would alleviate our responsibility of the overhead wires or a transformer failure on any of those other 3 accounts. So again, very preliminary discussions. I believe next Tuesday we have a meeting with the city and the engineering company that is going to be doing the road work, and I've contacted King Milling in hopes that they can be part of that meeting. But just wanted you to be aware that it's a very visible site, and they're our largest customer, so we have been talking with them. So they were very happy with the meeting, and if you have anything else to say, Ryan or Mark?
I think if they do move forward with their own primary metering or have us do it, it's pretty awesome to see that happen just because all of their facilities can be fed with underground, and that would allow us to remove everything that crosses Main Street right along South Broadway, from right out here at this corner all the way through the entire property. All of that overhead would be completely gone. We don't need this crossing over Main Street right now really for anything. We could eliminate the one single phase transformer that's out here and feed it from some existing underground right here, so it would really clean up the Main Street area and this street significantly. It's kind of an exciting project to see happen.
I love it.
Ryan and Mark are really the drivers behind these key ideas. So anyway, the meeting went well, and we'll keep you updated. Very preliminary though, so don't hold us to that they're for sure committing to this project or anything. I actually owe them some return on investment analysis that I told them I'd get this week, so. Believe that takes care of it for other system projects. Fiscal year 2016 end, I've already alluded to this a few times. Vredeveld Hafner, our auditing firm, was on site Monday, and they finished up some work this morning. The critical piece that they look at when they're here for the pre-audit is our year-end inventory. In the past, we do a good job, but we've been improving. They didn't find any discrepancies this year. We've had a few in the past that hasn't led to material weakness or a big concern or any adjusting entries, but we had 100% clean pre-audit, and Megan Kaiser is in charge of that process. She's the plant accountant and spent time over there counting with the guys. So Ron and Rich and Mark and Justin, I think Ryan helped with that. So good pre-audit, and I still have to schedule the audit. We have a lot going on in terms of projects, the AMI, hopefully hiring a new staff member for the office. We still will have the audit done with plenty of time. It has to be done by December 31st. Normally I've done it sometime in August. We'll still shoot for August, but it may be early September. But just wanted you to be aware of that process. So, Lowell Light and Power long-term natural gas supply. I received further information from Consumers Energy regarding the first of the 4 proposals or ideas that they presented to me and Lowell Light and Power regarding bringing more gas to the energy center. As a reminder, the first proposal would be to extend the high pressure gas line that's roughly 100 psi right over here by the river to our Chatham facility. To do this, they're estimating the capital investment to be $1.5 million. That could be reduced by how much more gas we would use, and those would be calculations to determine. I said, okay, that's great that we'd have this high pressure line. It would change the type of compressor that we would need to use, but how much more could we run our turbine if we extended the line? I mean, right now we can run it May 1st through September 30th with the low pressure line that we currently have. Are we talking 1 additional day a year, 50 additional days, all additional days? They got back with me, and based on their system engineers, they determined that we could run, and they believe it would be both turbines. I'm still waiting for a final answer on that. But they believe it would be both turbines anytime the temperature is 26 degrees or warmer. Based on historical average temperature data for the region, that would allow us to run an additional 119 days, so you're talking almost an additional 4 months, or 9 out of 12 months of the year. And those approximate days would be October 1st through December 8th, and March 12th through April 30th. Now this past year, Christmas, I went kayaking and it was in the 40s. We could have, if there was a major event, or Barney wanted to come in on Christmas and make some money for us, we could potentially run anytime it's 26 or warmer. My only concern is when you do have the fuel shortages or a potential ice storm, it's going to be colder than 26. So yeah, on average we're able to run 4 more months, but does it really solve what we need to solve? And that's running the turbines when there's a catastrophe or a major event. I did ask though how often we'd be able to run 1 turbine. I mean, if we can use 2 turbines at 26 degrees, maybe 1 turbine could be used all the way down to 15 degrees. I'm still waiting on that answer. So just wanted to bring this to your attention, as this is one option.
Okay.
A lot more analysis needs to be happen, but I just wanted to give you an update. Perry?
Right, but, so we have the possibility to run another 119 days.
Right.
But we're dependent, I mean, we don't get to just flip this. Whether MPPA tells us to run.
We can run any day we want.
Okay,
We could go run right now. Does it make economic sense to go run right now? We'd have to look at what power is selling for in the market. But right now, we can run any time of the day, as long as we don't surpass our emission, our air quality permit. So we have a certain amount of hours. I think, Barney, you determined that was 8 hours a day for 365 days a year?
Yeah, it's just over 2,000 for the solar and just under 2,000 hours for the Siemens. On a rough average.
well, I mean,
Okay.
I was just trying to put in perspective, if we just, all of a sudden we decided, yeah, that's the way to go, spend 1.5 million in infrastructure, but if we did that, we'd have to make sure that we
Right.
wouldn't want to do that and then only have it run 3 days out of the year.
Right. I can look back at historical data at the price of power on the market for these time periods and say, hey, if this would have been the scenario for the last 3 years, how many days could we have run, or how many hours we could have run, and how many dollars could we have made? Scary thing about that is there's a lot of retirements of coal plants expected in the future. The price of power on the market can be predicted, but when I got here, it was maybe I think in the 50s, 50 to 60s per megawatt hour on the market. Now it's in the 30s. So, I mean, you make this decision, we're going to put 1.5, we're not going to put the 1.5 million in because based on the last 3 years, we wouldn't have made any money. Maybe the next 3 years, the price shoots up on the market and you could have made a bunch of money. So that's something where I definitely have to get with MPPA, because they have access to longer term data of expected prices of power on the market. But this is just the tip of the iceberg in this analysis, but in the past month, this is what has progressed in terms of this option. The third option, I believe it was the third option, I'm still waiting. I talked with Pat Bowen. He has contacts in terms of gas or cavern storage engineers. I don't want to go to the white pages or yellow pages. I don't have a ton of contacts in the natural gas storage arena. I prefer to go to him or the MPPA and, okay, we know this vendor, we know this engineer, they're legitimate and would do good work for an analysis. So I do plan to spend time on this or reconvene with him and make sure that he hasn't forgotten. So. Standby generator and gas compressor options. So this relates to what you were talking about earlier, Perry. I did include a couple, I guess, one table and one flow chart in your packet that's relevant to this discussion. So if you want to pull that out at this time. I also handed out an amortization schedule at the beginning of the meeting. So I'll just give you our current situation. Right now, we're leasing one compressor at a cost of $69,000 a year. We pay $7,500 a month, May through September when we can run, $4,500 a month. The other 7 months, we're paying $69,000 a year. This compressor can only handle one of our 2 turbines. So as it sits right now, with the compressor we have, we couldn't run both turbines at the same time. We would either need a second compressor, going from 15 to 250 PSI. We could get rid of the current compressor we have and get a bigger one that could support running both turbines. We could extend, or we could get a permanent solution into 250 PSI pipeline built to our facility that's going to cost millions of dollars, I've been told. So that's the least realistic right now. So in terms of the compressor situation, we're paying $69,000 a year right now. If we got a second compressor, we pay another $69,000, so we're up to $138,000. My thought is, why not pursue purchasing a compressor through an installment purchase agreement? It would not break Lowell Light and Power's budget. Interest rates are extremely low. I believe the city recently purchased a piece of equipment through an installment, through a financing agreement with Mercantile Bank at a rate close to 1.55%. I confirmed with Dick Wendt that this piece of equipment qualifies to go through the installment purchase agreement process. If you pull out your amortization table, you'll see that a $560,000 loan at a 2% interest rate, so I shot a little bit higher. I'm not sure, we'd have to go to the banks for quotes. Over 5 years, we'd pay roughly $29,000 in interest. Right now, it's still worth the money to lease the compressors we have because we're getting capacity credit from, that's more than what we're paying in interest. So it's not like, oh, we're wasting our money paying this lease payment because we're still getting capacity credit for that turbine right there for $150,000. So we're still in that, we're still ahead by doing what we're doing. I just think we could be further ahead by pursuing a different option. Let's go down to payment number 12. We would have paid $10,200 in interest if a year from now we were to get a permanent solution, didn't need a compressor. So we paid $10,200 in interest, but we've also gained equity in that. So there would be the potential to either sell that back to the manufacturer at some sort of loss or discount. We could maybe sell it for full price, or maybe we could lease it out ourselves. I'm not sure. I'd have to explore that. But right now, the lease payments we're making almost are like interest. We can't get the money back. In 12 months, if we had 2 compressors, we'd pay $138,000. If we decided to go purchase one through an installment purchase agreement after 12 months, we would have paid $10,000 in interest. And if we could sell that back for what we paid for it, we're only down $10,000 in the process compared to $138,000. I'm not asking for a decision tonight, but I wanted to at least plant the seed, something we're going to pursue. I do have a chart that shows gas compressors. So the gas compressor we have right now is the 4th one, 15 PSI to 300 PSI. That's what it can handle, but we only pump it up to 250, roughly. It's a used compressor, and it runs on electric, meaning that if we were to get a standby generator, which I'll lead into next, the compressor we have right now, we need to have a standby generator run it. With a compressor that runs on natural gas, you wouldn't need a standby generator that runs it. And why I'm saying that is, if we wanted to start a turbine and start our electric gas compressor, we would need a 350 kW standby generator. 350 kW standby generators are more expensive than 150 kW standby generators, and a 150 would be needed to only start the turbine if we had a gas compressor run on natural gas. Does that make sense? I don't want it to go over anybody's head. The flow chart may better explain it. The flow chart shows extending the high pressure pipeline to Chatham for 1.5 million. We can either say yes or no. If we say no, we need a gas compressor that can handle 15 to 300 PSI. We have 3 options to do that. 2 compressors that run on electric, which would be 2 of the compressors that we have now. The total cost for that would be $690,000. We would then need a standby generator that either runs on diesel or natural gas, both of which would need to be 350 kW. The second option would be to have 2 compressors that run on natural gas, same $690,000 price, but the standby generator we would need to operate the turbine and the compressor would only need to be 150 kW diesel or natural gas. Or the third option would be to purchase 1 compressor that runs on natural gas for $560,000. So the decision is pretty obvious, but I wanted to lay out all 3 possibilities. And the standby generator option would need to be a 150 kW generator, either run on diesel or natural gas. Does that make sense? So if we decided not to extend the pipeline, we really have 3 options. Or we could keep leasing, which would cost us $138,000 a year. And I can run further numbers, but I think I ran it. If we had that current situation for 24 months and we sold the unit compressor that we bought for 80% of its value, we'd still be way ahead, taking a loss on the sale and going ahead and buying it now compared to paying $276,000 in 2 years in lease payments.
Steve, is there any additional service maintenance agreements or support that we would incur other than just sitting there?
That would be a great question for Barney.
Okay.
And Barney's here.
Well, I'm sure they always have a service agreement.
Exactly. Yeah.
That they would offer, whether we decide to use it or not.
But do you feel we're staffed enough that we could maintain them and do the things without thinking about those service and maintenance agreements?
I would think so.
Okay.
I would think if something were to happen to it that was beyond our capability of fixing, then they would come down for a fee.
Yeah, okay.
And that fee would probably not be as much as a service agreement.
Right, I agree with that, yeah.
Hey, Barney, we're actually only running those at what, 185 PSI now?
Actually, it's set at 250 because it's regulated to about 185, 190 at the turbine.
Okay.
But we need excess for when the turbine's running to maintain the pressure.
Okay, so we have that much of a drop in the system between the compressor and the unit?
So the compressor is putting out 250 yet.
Okay, because I thought the compressor was actually only putting out 190 or 195.
Well, it's regulated down to 190 at the turbine.
Okay.
Now the other turbine, the Siemens is going to take more.
Okay,
That will run at about 225.
okay. I thought maybe we wouldn't need that level of upfront compression.
Right. We still need it.
Okay, all right, thanks.
The other option would be to extend the pipeline for the 1.5 million, but now we're getting 100 PSI at our facility. The compressor that we would need is substantially different. We now need a compressor that goes from 100 to 300. I talked with Barney. We can't just use a compressor that goes from 15 to 300 and say, okay, let's now go from 100 to 300 with the same compressor. It's a completely different compressor. So we have thought about that. That compressor is $279,000. It runs on natural gas, which would then mean we would need a standby generator that runs on 150, and we could either go the diesel or natural gas route. To talk about Perry's point of a standby generator, I probably didn't cover all that I needed to. A standby generator would be needed to start the turbine in an electric compressor in the event that we lost all power. This is just called black starting the unit. Right now, we don't own a standby generator, so God forbid the entire town went out of power tonight, we would not be able to start those turbines because we do not have a standby generator. It's my belief, but I believe Barney's and Ryan's, that a diesel standby generator would be the way to go. Natural gas would pretty much be permanently fixed at the site. A diesel unit would be on a trailer. You could be used for the 20 to 30 minutes at Chatham to start what we needed to start. And if things were done electrically, a transfer switch were to potentially be put on a school or another facility, in theory, that diesel generator could be brought somewhere else to power part of another facility like the school. And as you can see, the cost of a standby diesel generator at 150 kW is very comparable to a natural gas 150 kW generator. So, staff has researched, and Barney really did all the legwork, so I appreciate Barney's help with all this. He's kind of got all the quotes and numbers. I just kind of formatted it. But these are really the options based on the pipeline extension from here or not. Now, ideally, it would be awesome if we could get gas there 24/7, 365 at 250 PSI. And I'm not willing just to commit to these options and rule that out, because I still think we have to do our due diligence and push consumers and see legislatively of what we can do to get them to build us a pipeline that we don't have to completely pay for. But this is where we are now. Regardless, we would still need a standby generator if the power went out, even if we had a 250 PSI pipeline to our facility. Does that make sense? Just because we have the gas, if we don't have a standby generator and all power's out, we would still need a standby generator. So
my one question to you, because again, we're in the whole scheme of things, you're only looking at $15,000 difference. Looking at the scenarios, yes, we need 150 kW, but
350 compared to the 150, 45 versus 30 price point.
right. So I mean, and I've always been thinking of worst case scenario, emergencies, hit by a tornado, whatever. So we use the school as one of the, like the high school as a Red Cross
Right.
facility or whatever. Does a 150 kW run the school?
No.
Does a 350 run the school? Or are we talking?
I think 150 would run close to 20% of the school based on the school's peak. I think
Okay.
there's peaks in the 700s. I'd have to double check.
So
Don't
what is
quote
it-
me on that.
what is
350 would get closer to half.
Okay,
So yeah, it would be overkill of what we needed at our facility, but if the
Right.
board's goal was, hey, we want to power more of the school for a Red Cross type of setup, then it might be worth spending the $15,000 additional to have that capability. You're getting more bang for your buck with the 350, obviously,
right.
but I mean, if you don't have a plan to use or need that extra 200, I just don't want to throw away $15,000 just to have something. But that would be the board's decision.
That'd be something we could help Portland or other communities also with the mutual aid thing.
Right, and
Potentially.
I just thought of this now. I'd have to look at neighboring facilities of what they have for standby generator. Maybe we put ours on some sort of retainer, or, have some sort of agreement that we could lease it out to them in the event that they have an event we don't. So they don't have to buy one, so economies of scale, we share a resource. That'd be something where I'd have to reach out to those communities. I don't want to,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what they have.
I mean,
And
we're
maybe
not
we
making a
can't-
decision tonight.
Right.
I'm glad that we're looking at these options. You're throwing those numbers and different things.
Right.
So again, reaching out to other communities. So my next question, do they make a larger than 350 kW that goes on a trailer? That's diesel.
I don't know that answer.
That's three-phase, again, I don't know how big that trail, the things that we do for Pink Arrow, Vice Electric and stuff, they bring their,
350 is pretty large. That's huge.
I think we looked at a 500 at one time period, that's mounted on a trailer. I think that was about as big as we could get on something that we could total efficient.
again, and I'm
We can
saying
get a
like
price
if there's
point on
if there's a used one that's 500 and you talk to Portland
whoever else.
Zealand or whatever.
Right.
You know, and talk to them and say, do you have these capabilities, or would you be interested if we purchased it that in an emergency that you knew that we had that?
Right.
Would our equipment be able to transport it? Do we have equipment
It's a-
on site that, I don't know how big this.
Yes.
I'm picturing this building being moved by a semi-truck.
No, it's a trailer, we could move it.
How big is
That's
that?
at least the ones that I've seen, the ones that we've used with Beist Electric and Michigan.
So is it as
It's-
big as a Winnebago, or?
No,
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 the
it's
350 kW was about 12 to 14 feet long.
Oh,
on dual axles and,
Now, they do make some extremely larger on semi-trailers.
We don't need that.
We wouldn't need that.
okay.
It would weigh tons.
I just wanted to make sure that we had the equipment to move this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if we
Yeah.
bought this, would we have to buy a truck now too?
No.
Manure truck would pull it.
Manure truck, a bucket truck,
One
digger
that
truck,
worked
even a
out.
pickup
Okay.
probably pull it.
We could all push it probably if we got all this together. No, I'm just kidding. No, we would have enough. We would have the ability.
you
to
wouldn't
do it.
necessarily want to pull it with a half-ton pickup truck, but
Right.
1 ton or 3/4 ton that we have.
And in that sense.
One
City
question on the upper leg of this flow chart.
Yes.
That wouldn't be able to run all the time, right? Because that's the one that, if you had the gas up to 100 PSI, that's with the 25-degree limitation, right?
26.
26 degrees or warmer,
Yeah.
correct.
which
So
gives
whereas
you-
the bottom leg is
May
that would
through September.
work all the time, right? Or,
This bottom leg is assuming we don't do anything with our current pipeline,
right,
which would mean we'd still have our existing agreement with Consumers Energy to run anytime between May and September.
Right, we're gaining 3 months
Oh.
for the upper one.
Yeah, 4 months.
oh, so the upper leg is gaining more than the lower leg?
Yeah, we could run 9 months with the upper
Okay,
decision,
and only,
5 months with the lower. But you can see there's a significantly higher cost to go that option.
right,
Not asking for a decision tonight. I wanted
Yep.
you to chew on this material. Staff's working on this, and I'd still like to pursue the other avenues of potential gas supply. But I would expect after we make calls to neighboring communities, to at least have a standby generator purchased would be something we need to do regardless of the situation.
mhm,
And it sounds like there would be an interest, at least from Perry, to go at least the 350 route, which could support whatever decision we go with, you know, extending the pipeline or not.
The
I mean-
flow- by the way, the flow chart was awesome. That makes it so much easier to,
Well, I was having a tough
process.
time keeping this straight. I was like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
I can't keep it, I'm gonna have a hard time with the board meeting.
Which,
but that just made it, like, I
Which
was
that-
reading the packet and I read through this and then I saw the flow chart, I was like, oh, I didn't do
I thought that would resonate with you, Andrew.
which you're still contemplating, the upper flow, of the flow chart, the upper part basically gets us 9 months.
On average, 9
service.
months, yes.
The lower part, you're really looking at the same amount of time, but it's more of, do we purchase that?
It's only 5 months of time.
Right, but do we purchase it or do we continue to lease?
Right, if the board were made to make a decision that, hey, we're not going to extend this pipeline because we're committed to getting gas here 24/7, 365, it might be my recommendation to, okay, we're going to stick with our 5 months and we're going to purchase a compressor for $560,000 that could handle both turbines. We start building equity, and once we do get gas here full-time, lease this compressor because we wouldn't need it anymore. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That would be my approach. I mean, there is an advantage to deciding this sooner than later because we have, instead of making our lease payment on the compressor and having that go towards nothing, we build equity. So if you guys said, you know what, thanks for the $1.5 million option, but we're out, then I'd move on to the second option at least faster as a short-term solution to at least save money and build equity. You know what I mean? It's a big decision. give me an answer right now, we can talk about it, but unless you guys had a strong feeling, all of you, one way or another.
$6,000 a month to think about it while we lease, right?
Right, well, 7,500. Okay. All right, I think we beat that one up. Lowell School Solar Project, nothing new at this time. The AMI project, a brochure was sent out with June's bill with an update. Kept the same format mainly because I'm not the best graphic designer of all time and we had limited time. But I think the message came across well, that the project is progressing well, and really we're at a standstill until the equipment gets here. I did reach out to Sue Ellery at the city and asked if I could make a presentation August 1st. That presentation will include how the technology works, as well as a timeline of how we got to this point, a high-level timeline. Safety and security concerns that I know have been brought up by a number of residents. And then really hit on the benefits to the customer, and as well as mention the benefits to the utility, because there are many, and talk about the portal and the app that will be available where customers will be able to view usage, graphs, charts. Commercial customers will be able to monitor demand, which will help them hopefully decrease their peak and save them money. Sharon will be able to put energy efficiency tips. People will be able to get text message and email alerts. There are different phases to this app. It's not going to happen day one, and I'll make sure to let people know that. But they'll be able to see outage maps, get email alerts, budget billing, many different service requests. I'll mention all of that, but that'll be the majority of my presentation because that's what the people care about, and I'll address any security or safety concerns as well that I have found in my research. So,
Will you be offering an opt-out option to some of the folks that?
yep,
have
the board
fears?
and staff have committed to an opt-out
Great.
option at no cost. And I would always encourage people to talk with me, and I'd like to hear their concerns, and maybe I can help alleviate those. But if they're set in stone and, nope, it's not for me, that's what we'll respect. So,
Do our meter readers,
they're aware.
they're aware, and so their income is gonna,
Yes. Fortunately, both of our meter readers are retired and are just using this for supplemental income and something to do, but they have been made aware. Nancy has been willing to do some weeding, or if we have odd job projects around, but they have been told about this project months ago and are aware of it, so we're not going to say this is your last day. So,
Is there anybody out there, any company that uses an app that, I have a smartphone, I'd like to maybe go play with somebody else's app, is that possible? But I probably couldn't read it real time though, could I, because I'm not a customer?
correct.
Okay.
You would only be able to act, you're not going to be able to, on this app that we have, be
Yeah.
able to see Greg Canfield's bill and
Right, yeah.
Andrew's bill, and you would have to register, and there's a security process with a sign-in process with.
Good for
Do they have a
security
demo
then, yeah.
or something like on there?
That is something I thought about, because August 1st, the meters won't be in.
Like
So
if
it wouldn't be
people go to their
possible to
site.
do a real-time demo, but I have seen the demo of the product from the vendor, and it's awesome.
Is that available?
That's what I mean,
That's
just go
something
to
where
their
I
site
could,
and-
the vendor is located in California, but they could potentially remote in. I'm just thinking of ideas right here. I don't know if we could set up some sort of informal town hall meeting to do a demo where it can be more interactive than a council meeting. You know what I mean? Where people are just in chairs and the council's up there, where anybody who wants X day at Y time can come and watch this demo and ask questions, and it'll be more interactive and play around with things. It's a great idea.
Or even if they just had they had a video on YouTube of their app,
Okay.
using it, or just instructional video.
There might be one out there.
Yeah, that they might even already have on their website or something of just a demo of.
Yeah, I'm
features
not
of
gonna
their app,
commit to a
so.
demo for sure being possible, because I wanna make sure the vendor's available and
Yeah.
able to do such a thing, but I will definitely pursue that. Okay? And a letter will be going out to residents, not just in their bill, but a specific letter when the project comes closer with, during this time span, and between this date and this date, your meter will be changed out. here's a list of frequently asked questions. Staff has talked about this, and we do have kind of a PR plan that still needs to be firmed up, but we want to have frequently asked questions. Let them know a date and time if they have any questions or concerns to contact us, where everyone in the company will be briefed and make sure we give the same message and they're not hearing something from someone and something different from somebody else.
And if my recollection, we have meters that swap out for even A bottom.
We have adapters that we purchased.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's literally gonna be no cost to our customers to switch out.
I don't anticipate so. I mean, there's the potential that a service is so bad that maybe an adapter won't work. We do plan to, I think we have like 35 odd some A-bottom meters. Those will be last on the schedule because those are unique. That'll be something. Right now, the policy has been, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, like if we get to a service and we have to disconnect it at the pole because it's an A-bottom meter and we need to reconnect it, we make them upgrade. Granted, it hasn't been done in a while.
It's in bad shape. We need to upgrade, but everything looks okay.
But I understand the concern because, okay, now they're only having to upgrade because of this project we're doing. And they're seeing it, oh, well, if you weren't doing this project, I wouldn't have to pay X hundred number of dollars to upgrade my service.
At that
But they
point.
could opt out.
Yeah, that's what I was.
They
just
could opt
gonna
out.
ask, yeah, and maybe then they could budget to maybe upgrade a
sorry.
little later, yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's a unique, I mean, there are such, I mean, we have 2,200 some residential customers, 30 some that fall into this, but I think it would be good if staff developed some sort of letter specialized or customized to just these people.
Very good.
And we could probably assess that meter before we pulled it. It's not like they'd be stranded.
Right, yeah, right. We would know before disconnecting the meter, I mean, okay, this is really bad, or, you know, this will pass and be fine.
How long will it take to change a meter?
Not long. I
just
mean,
like
you
a-
can swap it out in a couple minutes. The key will be record keeping. Our plan, just, we've talked at monthly meetings with staff, and I believe the informal plan now will be to have at least 2 people take a picture of both meters with a sign showing the address. So we have the final read and meter serial number of the old meter, we have the address, and we have the new meter side by side, and save that picture on our network so we cover our bases and, oh, that wasn't the final read, or you have, so we have records to make sure what serial number is put out to what address. Were you gonna say something, Ryan?
No, I was just agreeing. That's very good.
One thing I think we can never do is over communicate it, and it's 35 residents that you guys are talking about that maybe need to upgrade. Is there something that we could send them prior to it, since it's just the 35, that it may not just be a smart meter, just to make them aware prior to Mark and the crew showing up, and now you gotta need to opt out?
I think we can talk among staff and develop something if we all feel it's needed, you know?
Just for those 35.
Right,
Communication.
very key.
When consumers did a change, it was reported on the news that somebody got a $20,000 bill. Are we anticipating any issues like that? They're just glitches, but
There is the expectation that bills could go up slightly. Now, that would be something we put on our frequently asked question sheet, and the only reason the bills would go up is because the meter they had slowed down and wasn't capturing all of their true usage. So, people don't see it that way, but they had been getting a discount.
yeah, but you're not going to go back and try to figure out what to
No,
charge them
no,
because
we
the
won't,
meter
oh,
was
well, we
running
figured
slow,
out.
yeah.
No, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Hey, we could have billed you $100 more the last year for the last 10 years. Give us $1,000. No.
But now they'll have a real high level of accuracy that
Yes.
people will be paying for exactly what they're using.
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically, their car had low miles because the odometer was low.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just asking, because out doing work at a customer's house, and they're gone on vacation, and Consumers Powers came, changing their meters. I mean, the Consumers is going out and changing, and they literally had to change the box that the meter went in, and the mast on that.
Really?
Yeah.
We don't anticipate having to do all that.
Again, I'm just
Hope not. Right. Do you, Ryan or Mark?
No, because we normally don't do it, but if it is a bad A bottom, somebody's gonna.
Yeah, that would be an A bottom type, but I mean, in the
I don't know
average,
what,
how, okay.
I don't know what they had before, but again, because you
Right.
could see yeah, they had to change. I didn't actually see, I shouldn't say that. I didn't see them I had a key to the house, on their door thing was, Consumers Energy's been here, we've changed your box. So I kind of went and, I went and looked at it, and it was like, maybe the homeowner had changed before, but it no longer fit
The
in
footprint.
the footprint of their vinyl siding, and the mast looked brand new to me.
When we did the 200 some odd meters in Whispering Hills, we didn't have to go through that.
I don't know why Consumers would have changed the meter socket and the mast. That's none of their property. They bring the service in, and that's the customer's property.
And maybe it was already, but it was like, I was just looking at them going, this looks brand new.
Sharon brought up the idea of doing the door hanger though. And
Yeah, because I
We
did
haven't-
that with Consumers, which was good.
I do think
Just to
we'll
say your
pursue
meter
that.
has been
And
changed out.
so in case a lot of people might not.
I got
So
4
people
doors,
know.
I expect 4 hangers.
No, the one thing that might help
Yeah, which door do you
in your
hang on?
presentation or just in some communication is just, you have like a before and after
Coming
picture
to
of
the
what
guys
residents
anyway.
would expect to see
I use
if they had
outside
for a
doors.
typical meter. I
We
mean,
can do that.
just so that, I don't even know
Lot
what's
of good
being
ideas
changed out.
here.
So right now I'm trying to picture it and I can't, so,
And I just want you to know you're almost over the 3-hour limit.
yeah.
Yeah.
The new general manager.
I'm sorry. Okay, moving on.
Going for Greg's record.
But so, just really quickly.
We went to 10 before. We can do it, guys.
Okay. Yeah, but usually you
What food
provide-
do we got back there?
Usually you
That's why
provide
we didn't-
dinner for us.
Don't
Can
give
we
them the
ration
whole-
that food or?
Yeah,
Okay.
more the liquids.
Julie's having fun, I can tell. She's gonna tell Megan, guess what?
No, my turn.
So just really
Okay.
quickly, is it like a 15-minute thing or a 2-hour job or what's?
I wouldn't think longer than 10 minutes
Oh, that, okay.
for a meter. Yeah, the hope would be to get this done in a couple weeks. No,
Okay.
we're gonna shoot high, and if it goes longer, that's okay.
Okay, but I think that's something to get to the customers too, is
Right.
just, we'll
We're not
be
gonna
there,
be at your
we'll be
house
there
for
for
2
no more
hours,
than half an hour, and then we're gonna, for most people, and we're gonna
I was
take this thing out, put this thing in, and show them a picture of what most of them look like, and for the other 35 or 100 people that might have slight variations,
Andrew, when you see your VCR flashing, you know they've been there.
right, but again, just,
Mine's been
When you're telling
flashing
people
ever
that-
since I put it in.
Who has a VCR? Who has a
I
VCR?
was at my son's house last week, and this consumer swapped his meter, and it took just a couple minutes.
Okay.
It was real quick.
but again, it's just,
Oh, Perry, I need to help you.
Well, I have both, but it's been flashing since the day I bought it.
And your
Doesn't
8-track.
bother me at all.
bought the dual?
I'm watching the TV, I'm not watching that.
And your
Oh, boy.
8-track.
Okay, I don't know. It says it all.
those laser disc player.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
All right.
Sorry. Grid Alliance Transmission Investment Service Committee. Pat Bowen, the general manager of the MPPA. I briefed him on our situation last month during June's meeting, and he's reached out to his contacts at ITC regarding their thoughts and willingness to investigate a potential transmission project that would feed our substation with a second transmission line. Right now, the only project proposals we've seen are projects that would not be part of the zone or region, meaning that the maintenance costs and annual transmission requirement costs would be fully responsible by Lowell and Power. If a project could be developed that would be deemed to be beneficial to the zone or region, the cost to maintain that line would then be spread amongst the region. And right now, we pay transmission costs that, are spread amongst the region. So right now, they see a Lowell project as something that would just benefit Lowell, not the region, so it couldn't be spread amongst the customers. And that maintenance cost is, I believe, if I'm remembering right, close to $300,000 a year. So for us just to absorb that, to have a second transmission line, it would be my preference to spend